Ba ba da ba ba ba! Dave the Diver! Hold on, I have to fix some things. This is another one of those games where, make that smaller. Okay, cool. This is another one of those games where the audio has tabs out whenever where the audio goes out when I tab out, so that's great. So I have to fix things right now. So give me a sec, chat, sorry. But hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I had to do a test with my chat to make sure that was working. Yeah. Today we are playing Dave the Diver. It's my first time ever playing this game. I have heard many good things about it, and I've had it on Steam for a while. So, I don't really know what else to say other than I hope everyone's having a good day. I have been having a nice day so far. I had some coffee ice cream before we started, which is my favorite flavor, by the way. I drew it in my summer art. Whenever there's coffee ice cream at like a store, at like a ice cream parlor or something, that's definitely the one I go for. Anyways, Dave the Diver. I know nothing about this game, so but the sorry. The title screen music is very nice, and the game looks very nice too, from what I've seen, from what screenshots and of it I've seen, and footage I've seen. Yes. Anyways, I think I'm just gonna get started without how do I press new game? Okay. This is perfect for this summer. This is a perfect game for summer. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, I love the pixel art. I love that so much. Is that the titular Dave the Diver? Oh. Oh, there's a little guy. I hope the audio is fine, by the way. I hope audio sounds good. I hope the game's not too loud or too quiet or anything. I hope you guys can still hear it pretty well. Dave the Diver. I like this music. This is nice. I like this a lot. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited to play this. I don't know if I should just press skip because this seems like well, it's not the credits, it's just the well, I mean, it's credits technically, but the opening credits. So I don't know if I should just skip or not, but I don't think I should. There we go. Didn't need to. All right, let's see what this is all about. But yeah, I hope the game audio sounds fine, and I hope I'm not too loud or too quiet or anything, but if there's any balancing issues, let me know. I'm actually going to check on my phone real quick just to see how the audio sounds. So give me 1 second, chat. I just need to do this real quick. So if you hear something in the background, that is why. Hold on. Oh, I think the game, everything sounds good. Okay, I was gonna say I think the game could be a little louder, but if you say so. Actually, I am gonna turn up the desktop audio just a little bit. There we go. Oh, Dave, okay, I just missed what he said. Well, I was told to hurry here. I was on vacation, you know. So where's the sushi at? Ha ha ha! Don't rush yourself. Have a look around. Look at this giant blue hole. I've never seen anything like this. Not just the size. Every time you enter, there hasn't been much game yet, so I can tell. Okay. The terrain and ecology change, which means this could be an incredible business opportunity. What kind of business? Well, we can discuss that later. I heard you took a break from diving. How about warming up? I'll guide you from here. Go ahead and go in. Go on in. I don't have a good feeling about this. A sushi bar by the blue hole. This is a perfect game for summer. With yeah, okay. Alright. I'm at the arrow. Oh, I have to hold down space. Ooh. Oh, I like the 3D models for the fish. Oh, that looks nice. Oh, this is perfect for summer. Oh, nice form. Haha. All right, now how about try stretching a bit? Not a bit. Try moving to the marked area. With shift, with L, is that left shift? Left shift, you can move quickly. Remember that this speeds up oxygen consumption. This shift or this shift? Okay, I don't think it matters. No, it is this one. Good. Looks like your skills are intact. Your moves are as nimble as a freshwater snail. And let's not practice using the weapon you'll need in contingencies, the dive knife. Try using the survival knife on a small fish. On small fish, you can use the mouse. Where's okay? Oh, well done. Smooth and quick. And finally, you haven't forgotten how to use the harpoon, have you? The harpoon? Well, I haven't used one in a long time. Do you aim first, and then, Looks like you need some practice. Let's try using the harpoon to catch, let's say, 3 fish. Aim with right click and fire with left click. Now try it out yourself. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, I missed. Okay. All the fish are too far away from me. No, I can't get the... Dang. Banging. Okay. I gotta see Goldie. I can't get the... Nice. Oh, I'm sorry, Dory. Oh, I think that should get you back on track in no time. Alright, come back up to the boat. Okay. Exceeding your carry capacity will slow you down. Alright. Now that you got the hang of it, let's get down to business. Dave, you love sushi, right? Yes. For sure, that soft fish meat with oily rice. Oh man, that's just the best. Aha! Well, listen up. I have a friend who is a sushi chef who left the business for a while. He has a bit of a sharp tongue and a slight temper, but he has one skill that I can guarantee is unmatched in the world. It is right here that I started a restaurant with my friend that sells one-of-a-kind sushi. The sushi sold here is made from fresh fish caught in the blue hole, where fish from all over the world can be found. Don't you think people would just go nuts for it? Yum, I'm already craving it. Haha, I bet. So, why don't you join in on this awesome venture as well? What do you say? I mean, I love eating, but I don't know a thing about cooking. Nothing to worry about. The restaurant's already... Already what? Okay. All you need to do is dive to get the ingredients. Doesn't sound too bad, right? Sure. I wonder what happens if I decline. So I can eat as much sushi as I want? Yeah, sure. You have to pay though. Can't wait. Oh, fuck. Why would I... Dude! He's being not honest with me. He's not being honest with Dave. And that's not cool. Dave seems like a nice guy. Dave seems like a sweet guy. Can't wait to check it out. A sushi restaurant next to a blue hole. It was supposed to open tonight, but I'm not sure if it's ready. Let's go have a chat at the restaurant. Aha! Press at the arrow to go to the sushi bar. Okay. Cool. I like the visuals of this game already. I really do. Hey, Bancho, are we all ready to open? As you can see, it's ready just in time. Oh, it's already finished? You? Ah, you're the fisherman Cobra was talking about. Well, I'm more of a diver than a fisherman. Alright, anyway, it's nice to meet you. I'm Bancho. You like sushi? Yes. I sure do. Tuna belly, eel, sea urchin. My favorite, personally, is, oh gosh. Well, I would say California, but it's very basic. So I like shrimp. I like the shrimp tempura roll a lot. Like the crunch roll. It's really good. I know it's not like authentic sushi, but it's what I'm used to. I didn't really, when I went to Japan in April, sushi is like the one thing I didn't really get, which is I didn't like order or like buy anywhere. I was too fixated on getting like rice balls and onigiri, and I was too fixated on getting onigiri and curry. Just as mediocre as expected. Sushi is a food that combines the soul of sea and land. It symbolizes Mother Nature herself. Most people, however, have only tasted more accessible fish, just like you. How empty a life is one that ends without ever tasting the beauty Mother Nature can offer. My calling is to bring the taste of Mother Nature to everyone. Oh. No, the cat! Oh! Oh shit. What's happening? Oh no, the restaurant! No, the restaurant! An earthquake? The interior is really quite a mess. Yeah, looks like we'll have to delay the opening today. You know what? I spent all my money getting this restaurant ready. I'll have to recover the repair costs through doing business. In this state? In the end, the importance of a restaurant is the taste. First, we need ingredients. Did you bring anything? Well, I have something I just caught. Only 3 fish? This won't be nearly enough to serve the guests. Please go and catch 7 more fish first. Dang, okay. It's a lot of fish. Hold on, sorry. Alright. Sorry, I was listening to the audio on my phone to see if it was good after I fixed it. It seems good. Alright. Oh, and the restaurant is going to be open only in the evening. Oh, I forgot to hit the record button on stream. Hold on, sorry. Well, I mean, I guess I just won't record. I'll just save the VOD from Twitch and just use that for YouTube when I upload it later. Sorry about that. All right, okay. The restaurant is going to be. Oh wait, hold on. Let me check that my PNG. I didn't close it back. Okay, sorry. The restaurant is going to be open only in the evening. Won't that decrease sales? So you think it's right to invite customers without adequate prep? I'm just gonna turn up the game a little bit more, just like up to here, maybe up to minus 10 decibels. It's always so hard to tell with these types of games because like whenever you tab out, the audio goes away. And I don't have 2 screens. If I did it would be great because I could fix these things really quick. But all right. It is a chef's duty to prepare the best possible food with meticulous precision, just as a warrior sharpens his sword on a whetstone. You will need to get me the best quality ingredients during the day. Okay. No, hey, I'm fine with it. It seems fun, and I get to see fishies. Sometimes I like going to the lake and swimming past the. I said this last stream, but I like going back to the lake and going a little past the swim line to observe the fish. It's nice. It's fun. But I didn't get to see any last time I was there, and I was sad. They were all hiding. I'm assuming maybe it's because the waves were a little more rough that time, but I'm not sure. It seems Bancho is really passionate about his work. He may not talk about personal stuff, but this guy can talk about sushi all night. I haven't seen Bancho so enthusiastic since the incident. It's nice to see him like this. The incident? Oops, maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. Well, anyway, we need more ingredients, so go catch 7 fish first. Alrighty. Oh, I gotta use WASD, right. Can't use the arrow keys. I'm fine with that, though. See, I think some of these are 3D models and some of them are pixel, which is really cool. Or it's like a mix of both? I'm not sure. I think maybe it's 3D and also pixel. So, okay. Boom. Okay, so, and then Okay, so I can't do it like directly down. I have to like be like that. This is really cool. Okay. Oh, okay. Normal depth. Alright, so I can't go too far, I don't think, so... Ooh, jellyfish. Can I get one of those? Or are those, like, hazards? Oh, no, I can't. Okay. No, it just... Come here. Ooh, rainbow wrasse. That's a 2-star. Okay. Ah! Come here! I own you! Okay. So how far can I go down? I'm assuming not too far. Oh, this is really pretty. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm exceeding normal depth. I cannot go too far. Okay. I want to get one of these. What is this? No, what the heck? Oh man. No. Yeah. Oh, no! I don't know how to do that yet. I'm not strong enough. Okay, I'm not strong enough for that yet, I don't think. Yeah. How many fish do I have? Okay. I had 6, 7. 6, 7. I'm sorry. What's this one? This little one here? No, I missed it. Oh, I thought it was like an angelfish, but it's not. Okay, I have 7 now, so I should be able to return to the boat. So I hope everyone's been having a good day. I have been having a nice day. Like, I haven't really done much today. I was kind of just waiting around for stream. I was playing some Tomodachi before because it's like part of my daily routine. I love Tomodachi Life. I would stream it if I had a capture card. But I feel like it's too late now because I have basically seen everything in it that there is to see. And I would be skipping a lot if I were to stream it. Alright, looks like you caught quite a few. At this rate, we'll make boatloads of money in no time. My, would you look at the time? I'll have to hurry up and get things ready. So why don't you head to the sushi bar? Yeah! Alright. Okay. Okay. Wrap up your day and get things ready at Banjo Sushi. By the way, you'll only be able to dive once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Get the ingredients ready before the dinner hours start. Okay. Oh. Sushi. I have like this really annoying mosquito bite. I think it's a mosquito. A mosquito bite on my arm. Ugh. And then there's another one on my leg. They're getting inside somehow. I don't know how. Pissing me off. Bancho, how are the preparations coming along? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know if it's Bancho or I don't think it's Bancho. I think it's supposed to be Bancho. How are the preparations coming along? I think we're mostly set. That's good. Here's to a great evening. Where do you think you're going? Didn't you hear from Cobra? You're gonna help run the sushi bar from today onwards. I don't understand. Cobra told me that there'll be somebody to help with the ingredients and serving. He said all I needed to do is cook. And who else is there for that but you? Wait, I've never worked at a restaurant before. The guests will be here soon. I'll give you a quick primer, so pay attention. What? Open the ingredients below. Here you can check your fish, crops, sauces, and all the other materials you have. For now, that's all you need to know. Come back later for more information. Press close, okay. Alright, now I'll show you how to register. Oh boy. Okay, I'll get this. I will get this. I will get this. Alright, press that to check it. Alright, new recipes need to be added to the menu before they can be sold to customers. There's a sushi recipe for the fish you acquired earlier, so try registering that to the menu. Okay. This one, maybe? Alright, probably wasn't that hard. Setting ingredients in auto supply will make things a bit more convenient. Let me repeat, only food on the menu can be sold. If you run out of ingredients, you'll have to replace items on the menu or refill the ingredients, okay? You can also enhance the flavor of the dishes, so try it out when you have enough ingredients. Okay. This is a lot of information to take in for me, because I have a tiny little hamster brain. Alright, okay. You can now use the ingredients you caught to fill out the menu as much as you can. Alright. Well, I don't have much of everything else, so I guess there's only gonna be 2 of these other ones, so. Now, okay, how long are you gonna stay there talking? Give me a cup of green tea to quench my thirst. Have you perhaps poured green tea before? No, only soft drinks, I think. I'll tell you how. Go over to Cobra. Okay. Or, what is, oh, S, okay. Bad. Shit. Okay, oh, I have to continuously press, okay. No! Try again slowly. Good. Green tea. Customers who drink green tea of a good... I almost said green tea. That's not a thing. Green tea of a good or higher grade will pay more. Ha 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 ha. As expected, Boncho's green tea is quite something. That tea really got my appetite going. Is there something to eat, perhaps? Demanding as always. Why don't you try serving him some food while you're at it? Wait until the cooking is done. Oh, look at that. Look how fast he's going. Whew. Come over to where I am and take his food. Take this food, okay? You can use dash when serving food, okay? Oh, I'm so slow. Hello? You sent the package last week, you say? What in the world? Let me check on that. But your sushi, sir. Cupboard didn't even eat. He's always distracted like that. The food can't be reused, so we'll have to throw it out. Seems like such a waste to throw it away. Boncho Sushi never reuses food. We do not put food made for guests on the table twice. Well, alright. Why can't I eat it? Everything looks about ready. I haven't cooked for customers in a while. Kinda nervous. Don't forget to press E after filling the menu for business to begin. Okay? Open Boncho Sushi. Open! Yay! Alright, now we just wait, I guess. Oh gosh, here come people, okay. Oh gosh, okay. Perfect! Woo! Oh gosh, oh boy. Oh no, this is gonna be fucking Papa's Mokeria all over. Ay! Ay! Okay. Okay, oh boy, okay. Hold on. Okay, this is blue, so I'll give it to you. Ah! Oh gosh! Oh no! Don't faint. Don't faint from hunger. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm out of stamina. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ah, boy, I'm panicking. I'm panicked. Oh boy, okay. I have to clean that up? I have to clean that? Oh, I have to spam that. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm certain that you can get like upgrades and stuff. I'm certain that you can get upgrades and such from when you as you go on, so lovely stuff. At least I like my sushi. The sushi that I fished. Not my sushi technically, but the sushi that I fished. I like. I think it's everyone. Is that everyone? Yeah, that's everyone. Nice. Boncho Sushi closed. Nice. Oh wow, I did really good. I did. Oh, I got a 5-star. Nice. I mean, I'm assuming that's. Wait, did my stream go down for a sec? No. Okay. I thought my stream went out for like a second, but I don't think it did. All right. Work's finally done for the day. My back and legs hurt. You were a bit clumsy, but not bad for a first day. Try a little hard. I got 5 stars. I did perfectly. Okay, I did perfectly. What do you mean try a little harder next time? I did perfectly. Nobody got mad. Okay, so excuse you. I suppose coming from you, that's a compliment. I guess. A man should not feel gratification from simple compliments. Yeah. All right. In any case, a toast to the opening of Boncho Sushi. Kanpai! Uh-oh. Ooh. Ah. Oh no! What? Squid. Uh-oh. Well, that guy's dead. I just witnessed a murder. I just witnessed a man get killed by a giant squid. That's great. Hopefully I won't be next. Ah, who's this? Are you the man who's been diving around here? Yeah, I think so. I was expecting a more professional looking guy. I can hear you, you know. In any case, can you do something for me? Shouldn't you tell me who you are first? I'm Ellie. I study biology at the local graduate school. I've come out to investigate after reports of anomalies in the area. Satisfied? Okay. So what do you want? I'd like to study the ecology of this blue hole. Get me some agar and red starfish first. I don't think it's a good idea to ask for just one of each. Get me 2 of each. Your tone makes me want to refuse. I've got she sounds like an Animal Crossing character. That's cute. I've got a reward, but if you don't want it, that's fine by me. Reward? Well, I wasn't refusing. I'm just saying you could ask more nicely. In any case, please hurry. Don't dally. Okay, red ecological data. New smartphone. Let your being go through your phone. Alright. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff. Okay. That's cool. Ooh, is an album? We got music? Ooh. There's mini games. Bouncy Dumbo. What's this? I'm playing games on my phone! What? There's a game inside of the game. What the heck? Oh, it's Flappy Bird. It's Flappy Bird. It's fucking Flappy Bird. Of course it's Flappy Bird. Oh no, I'm so bad at Flappy Bird. Oh no. Oh, I fucking suck at Flappy Bird. Oh, this is great. Oh, I missed the shell. Oh, I'm a huge failure. Ah! One more. This guy jumps like way too high. I want to get to the 10 to see what that thing. Ah! No, okay. I just need to get to 10. I just need to get to 10 to see what the other costume is. Come on! Come on, I didn't need to get to 10. Come on. Come on. Come on. Why are you all the way up there? No! Okay. Alright, let's see. Oh, it's a Dave the Diver costume. That's so cute. Oh, these are other oh. I'm sorry. How many costumes are there? I'm sorry. How many fucking costumes are in this? No. What? Oh, that's random. Okay. Does that like change anything? Dave's just fucking playing games on his phone. Okay. Okay, that's enough of that. I have mail? Hello, this is Monbo Air. I recognize this font, by the way. I think it's the same exact font they use in Kairosoft games. I'm not really sure what font it is, but it's a very like default font. You just want to get away from it all the summer for a vacation? Well, Monbo Air is here for you. Please use the promo code below when purchasing your ticket. Okay. Whoa. Attack of the Mutant Monster. I want to be rich? Yeah! Oh. What happens if I keep clicking? Okay, I don't think anything's gonna happen. Oh, I get a phone charm? Oh, that's so cute! What? That's so cute. I can call Cobra. What's the point of calling when you're so close? It's a waste of phone fees. Talk to me in person. Oh, okay. What a boncho. What is it? Do you want to learn to cook, perhaps? No, I just came to see if you needed any particular ingredients. A master chef can cook with any ingredient. I'll show you the best food possible regardless of what you bring me. Just bring me lots of it. Okay, and then who's this? Operator. Hello, I hope you're having a great day. Please note that this call is being recorded for quality assurance. What can I help you with today? Today's fortune. You've chosen to hear your fortune for today. Here it is. Happiness dwells in your mundane life. Diligence is the key. Or so it says. That's it for today's fortune telling. Is there anything else you need? My information. We collected 0 items in total. That's not a lot. Is there anything else you need? Okay. Okay. Anything else to do this? Ooh. So this is just menu. I'm just realizing the phone is just a menu, but it's really cool. They got like an email. I love when games have this stuff. Okay. Ooh, soy sauce. And then there's a calendar. How many fucking days does this game have? Okay, cool. And there's also a calculator if you want one. Oh my it's literally just a calculator. Okay, what would this be even used for? How do I even use this? Oh, I'm stupid. That's 6 plus 7. 6, 7. Sorry. I'm really sorry. And then there's tips as well. Okay. And there's also settings as well. Is there like an option? Okay, there's a save here. Okay, it does autosave. Alright. And then there's some other things here that I don't have unlocked, so. That's my phone. Cool. I think I just wasted time. I hope not. I mean, I hope I didn't. Alright, let's go. I've been having a blast so far, and we're still in the prologue. I mean, I'm assuming that I don't know how long the prologue lasts, but I actually don't know how long this game is either. I thought I could maybe hook 2 at a time, but I can't. Alright, let's go over here and see what's up with this. So there's like jellyfish here, I just gotta avoid them. I got a cardinal fit. Oh, what is that? Is that a seahorse? Oh, I can't get the seahorse. Oh, but there's some stuff over here. I missed. No, I can't get those. Okay. No, I think that's just background. Wood. Ooh. Okay, what's that for? I wonder. Ah. What happened there? Ooh. How do I don't know how to do that just yet. How do I do that? Oh, I have to spam it like really fast. Okay. Okay. Eel? No, I can't. Whoa! Okay, I'm not bothering with you. I don't think there's anything I can even get there. Phew. I really have to spam that. Okay, where am I supposed to find— what is that? Oh, that is not a— ah! Okay, no, can I like look in the— okay, that guy wants to fucking hurt me. Running out of here. Can I get this guy? How much fucking health does this guy have? Yes! Nice. Okay, there's a thing down there. I know I'm running out of air. I know. I just want to get this thing. I swear to God, I saw something. Right here. I don't know. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oxygen capsule. Okay. Alright. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh no, I don't have C. Oh. That could have gone really bad. Okay, I think I need to not be so deep down though, because there's too much shit here that's dangerous and can kill me. Ooh. Is this another oxygen capsule? Oh no, that's just a thing. Okay. A Selema Porgy. Ooh. What is this? Kajime. Okay. There's a lot of stuff down here. Ooh, a shock bang stick. What is it? So, hold on. Is that like a... No, that's not my harp. That's my harpoon. If you exceeded your weight limit, if you exceed your weight limit, you will slow down. If you exceed an even higher amount, you won't be able to carry anymore. Oh, okay. Well, I don't need... Let's see here. I don't need all these blue... I don't need so many blue ting. Okay. I need to figure out though where this... Oh, what's this? Oh, it's the red starfish. How do I get this? Okay, I can't pick up this because it's too pointy and it hurts. Owie. Owie, ouch. I don't need wood right now, so I'm not gonna bother with the... Okay, come here, bitch. I have to like hit this guy like several times. Ow. Nice. Okay, now I'm over capacity. Oh my god, this guy is heavy. That guy is heavy as heck. Okay, discard. I'm still over capacity. That's a lot of meat though. That's a good amount of meat. Okay, I need to go back up. Whoa. Look at that big guy. Friend? Okay, I don't think I should try doing that because I need to get back up. I need to get back up because I am over capacity. I need to get like a an upgrade or something for that. I don't have all the stuff for the person who requested like the starfish and stuff, but should be fine. Should be fine. Nice, okay. Dave, did you get to loosen up yesterday? I saw a lot of nasty fish. It won't be easy to go any deeper. I did notice that the fish in the blue hole have an odd violent streak. You noticed and you didn't tell me until now? Perhaps something puts them on edge? Oh, I completely forgot. I need to do something real quick. Sorry, chat. I need to do this real quick, and then I will continue the game. Okay, there we go. It's been done. Now I can close out a Discord. Okay. Cool. Oh. Perhaps something puts them on edge? Speaking of which, why don't you also take a gun in addition to the harpoon? A gun? Yeah, let's just shoot the fish. Like that's gonna work, I guess. I have a friend who's knowledgeable about guns. I'll introduce you to him. Oh, this is a guy. This is certainly the guy of all time. Wow, Cobra. It's been a while. Sorry, I got something stuck under my printer. I wanted to get it out. Who is the goofy looking guy next to you? Well, that's not very nice. Sorry, that wasn't the nicest thing to say to a stranger. I'm Dave, a professional diver. Interesting. I thought divers were athletic and muscular. You seem to defy my prior knowledge. People who live in glass houses. So what's this about? I'd like you to get straight to the point. I've begun a very interesting business. And now I'm in need of some weapons. Duff, I need your help. Oh. Season 2 of Straw Stella just ended anyway. I'll give you a listen. Alright, I actually discovered a fascinating giant blue hole. The terrain and ecology inside it changes every time you go inside. Oddly, any equipment found inside breaks down when brought out. I'd like you to make us a weapon that can be used inside. That is rather interesting. You've piqued my interest as a weapon researcher, you could say. My hypothesis is that anything that's not made of from materials found in the blue hole will continue to break down. This will be especially true of guns, which have precision parts. So we'll have to get the materials from this ourselves. Dave, you'll have to prove yourself as a diver to this Master Duff. I'm not sure why I should have to prove myself to you. Just tell me what you need. Since it appears you have no guns at all, let's start with something easy. I think I'll need 1 rope and 1 scrap iron. You heard him, right, Dave? Enter the blue hole and bring back rope and scrap iron. If you run out of oxygen midway, you'll only... Ooh, okay. Interesting. Alright, well, I guess we're going back in, then. Oh, hold on. There's something... Someone's blowing up my phone. Oh, okay, I can... Okay, cool. I don't need to call him. I don't want to call him. I don't want to call him at all. No, thank you. Got Nemo! Ah! Oh, there's a... I see another... Oh, so it does... The layout changes every time you go in, doesn't it? I see Nemo. Okay, I need to get this. Okay. And I don't need wood right now, actually. I can just discard that. I do need... Okay, what I need is... rope and scrap iron. Okay. Owie! I didn't think I was close enough. There's something here. Huh. I just don't want the eel to fucking... you going to my shit? What is it? I'm below the oxygen level that I should be at. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh, what's this? Is this rope? Yes. Okay. I don't need another starfish. I need another piece of agar. Oh, what's this? Ooh. Copper. I'll take it. Okay. Alright, I need... What the... What? What is this? Salt? Okay. Oh, is that scrap iron? Yes! Okay, cool. I found all the stuff I need for him. Shut up! Shock bank stick. Okay, I don't really need that. I don't have much... I guess I'll just get some more, fish before my oxygen fucking runs out completely. Aww. There's something down there that I don't like the look of. What is that? Okay, yeah, no thanks. No thanks you. No thank you. Let's go. I have everything I need except for the agar. I'm not really sure where I can find that. But I did get the scrap stuff. Well, then think you'd actually managed to bring it back. I expected you to quietly expire in the depths, you could say. Seems I have underestimated you slightly. Very well. I'll show you how to make the basic underwater rifle with these materials. First of all, download Duff's Weapons Shop on your phone. It's well optimized, only 42 megabytes, you could say. Okay. Oh, it actually downloaded. That's cute. You collected all the materials. Good. Let's try and create a new weapon. Oh god, this fucking guy. Oh, I don't like this guy. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Yeah, with a neat explanation like that, even someone like you should have understood. Well, I guess. Oh, and one more thing. I'm taking some measures to allow you to open weapon chests underwater. Whoa! Weapon chests? You can't bring them out of the sea, but they still come in handy, you could say. Oh, but I'll collect the info about the weapons you pick up and create blueprints for you. Weapons made with a blueprint won't break down underwater, you could say. In any case, this master will be what? Don't call yourself that, man. Don't call yourself that. Bleh. Goodbye, Trinity. Okay. Thanks. Alright. Wrap up your day and get things ready about your sushi. Okay. Cool. Sushi. I still need the ecological data thing. I'm gonna have a drinky drink. Alright, let's see here. Height in. Ooh. Let's do that. That gives me some pretty good money. Any other level 2 fish I have? No. I like how they changed the, they did like sprays separate for every single fish. That's cool. Alrighty, okay. This guy is an asshole. I like the art for these as well. It's really cute. Yeah, blue Dory. Oh, I can sell the ones that I'm not using. That's cool. All right. Oh, actually, I should probably do that, shouldn't I? Never mind. It's not as profitable if you sell them. Okay, I'm gonna wait around here for. Are we ever gonna fix this? I think that's when the interior probably. Oh, you want the tea? Okay. Perfect. Nice. Okay. I am a master at that. This isn't too bad. I mean, this is actually really fun. I'm actually having like a lot of fun with this. I'm assuming it'll come on. I'm assuming it'll get more crazy though as I keep going. But right now I'm having a lot of fun with this game. I mean, it is starting out a little slow. Well, actually, no, not really. Not really. Oh, Dave! You collected 100 gold! Woo, 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 woo! Let's go. Great job. This should be enough to repair what's broken. And give me some time. These repairs need to be done right. I really hope the customers keep coming. Aw, Dave likes doing this now. Here. Come on. Yes. Okay. Cool. Woo. All right. I have to. I think you were here first, and then you were. And then you were second. And then you. And then this lady might be the last one, actually. I think that she's last. I like. Cute. Yay! All right. Ooh, it's raining. I wonder if that changes anything. Are you Dave by any chance? Yes. What is it, sir? Wow! I'm always right about these things. Nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Bacon. I'm an archaeologist who studies the sea people what? The sea people civilization? I'll explain it to you. Aren't you lucky to have an expert like me tell you about them? Blech. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Ooh. The sea people civilization lives in legends. They are said to— oh, come on, I can't. They worship fish and had gills allowing them to live under— they lived in the depths, allowing them to flourish without any concern for invasion by other— I'm not even gonna try. That's about all there is to the story. Everyone thinks it's a myth and nothing more, of course. But proof that they were real was found right in the vicinity. Why is he like a woj like a wojak? Proof that they were real was found right in the vicinity of this place. Huh? This is an amazing find, one that could turn the whole academic world upside down. An ancient civilization under the sea. You'd only see such things in comic books or games. What makes you so sure they were real? My assistant closely analyzed an artifact found nearby and found that it is from no known civilization. It's dated to around 1500 years ago as well. There were no civilizations in these parts back then. That is interesting, but what business do you have with me? Well, you see— oh my god. My assistant's cryptocurrency investments didn't pan out and he won't be around for a good while. That's why I'd like you to help me. Oh. My assistant told me that the artifact was found 70 meters or so below the surface, so please go take a look. We're busy with the sushi bar. I don't think we can— haha! Sorry to interrupt your conversation. I'm Cobra. I work with Dave. Of course we should help you. We'll gladly do so. Yeah! What? We don't have time to swim around searching for artifacts. Think about it. If an underwater civilization is discovered, countless people will flock here. Bancho Sushi would be bursting at the seams. I suppose you have a point. Alright, I'll help. Isn't that lucky? Of course, I won't be asking you to work for free. I'll upgrade the diving suit you're wearing for free. Wow! With an enhanced diving suit, you'll be able to venture deeper. This is essential for exploration. These days, even such things can be handled by an app. Technological advancements are amazing, eh? Let's first install the iDiver app on the phone before we proceed. Okay. iDiver. The iDiver app allows you to enhance various diving— yes! Okay, cool. Now then, let me tell you how to use iDiver. I'll install the app for you, so unlock your phone first. Okay. Run the iDiver app. Upgrade the diving suit for free. Yay! Good. Now you'll be able to venture a bit deeper. Once you have enough money, use iDiver to enhance your equipment. You can enhance your suit as well as your cargo box and oxygen tank. That is very useful. Never forget that anything can happen in deep waters. I'll be in touch. Alrighty, man. See ya. Bye-bye. Alright. Chapter 1. Traces of the Sea People. Ooh, ah! Chapter 1. Okay, cool. And then I have this guy as a contact now. Cool. Alright. I wonder how you get more phone charms. I'm sure I'll find out. Let's go. Let's go. Wait, hold on. Actually, I don't. Oh, hold on. Can I upgrade anything else? Oh, cargo box. Yes. Cool, cool. All right, cool. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go find those sea people, chat. I see people. I see dead people. All right. Is the water like a different color? A different color because it's raining outside now? That's cool. Ooh. What is that? Enhanced harpoon tip. Ooh, thank you. Alright, so now I can go down to 70. This is really cool, but I don't want to lose my oxygen, so I don't know if I should be going this deep to begin with, but... Oh, that makes that a lot easier now. Okay. Aren't parrotfish the ones that, like, attack people? Or is that, no, that's triggerfish. That's like reef triggerfish. I think that's the one I was fucking fighting with the other day. This guy. Yeah! Oh, there's multiple of these assholes. They're fucking, hold on. Ah! Help me! Somebody. Oh my god, oh my god. Get away from me! Get away! Get away! Alright, that's it. I'm turning you into tonight's dinner, okay? That's what you deserve. Man, they took off so much of my oxygen. Ugh. Okay, I'll take that. Ooh. Oh, there's a thing here. Okay, cool. Alright, nice, nice, nice. Now we're back to normal. I am gonna kill them. I'm gonna show them. Here, there you are. Okay, it's bleeding, so... Whoa! Oh, that's nice. Oh, but I don't really have much space, do I? Oh man, okay. Alright, I'm gonna get rid of this lionfish. I don't think anyone would want to eat that, because I'm pretty sure they're poisonous. Oh, here these are. Does that take up? No, that barely takes up anything in my inventory. That's cool. So I only need 2 of those, so. Ammo box. Infinite immediately refills the ammo of the gun currently used. I don't really need that, do I? Alright. What is that? What is that? Oh, escape pod. No, I don't need that. I don't need that. Fragment. Okay, cool. I don't need the escape pod right now, so. Squid. Ah! They fucking eat me! Ah. Whoa, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, hold on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah, oh, that's a cuttlefish. Oh my god. I am way over. I'm gonna drop one of these guys because I don't need 2 of them. Alright, now I know where they escaped. What is that? Ooh, is that a fragment of the sea people? Oh, Dave, I think that's the one! Come back to the boat safely. I'll be waiting. What the fuck? Can you, that's a big squid. That's a big squid. What was that just now? I should get back to the boat right away. Okay, alright. Oh boy, I'm holding too much shit. Get out, get out. Alright. Ah! Don't ink me! Running out of air. Oh shit. Okay, there's an escape pod up here. Hold on, hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Where was it? It was up here. Oh. Stressful. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it successful. Successful. Mission success. Mission success. Ah! You actually brought them back? I guess I expected too little of you. Okay. Alright, this should do for now. I'll give you a reward as promised since you helped me do my research. The sudden ecological changes in this region will need to be studied further, so I'll continue to need your services. Add my number! Thank you for the money. We did it. So I'm assuming blue missions are side and yellow ones are main. Alright! You brought it out safely! It's Suzuki in very good condition. Almost as if it was stored somewhere until recent. Very interesting. This may be the find of the century. You're a very suspicious man. I'm sure he's fine though. Alright, Dave, let's continue to work together and uncover the secrets of the Sea People civilization. What? I thought I'd only be helping you once. Of course, say no more. Just put our restaurant at the top of the list of affiliates. Yo. That won't be hard to do. I have a very lucky feeling about this. I'll be in touch. Oh, nice. That's a lot of money. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, I think that was morning, so we still get afternoon. Dave, while you were out at sea, the repairs were completed. Let's head to the restaurant. Oh, I wanted to do more diving. Whoa, it's looking very nice. Ha 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 ha, it doesn't matter how delicious the food is. The restaurant cannot be a mess. Ah, if you want to change the interior menu is below is open, so please check it. There's a kitty! The kitty's back! Yay! Oh my gosh, so cute. You cannot freely change up the interior of Bancho Sushi. Use the interior tab to select a style to your liking. Ah, but as Dr. Bacon said, if the remains of the sea people are found, your customers will indeed come, but this area is kind of remote, so I think I will need a way to advertise the store until then. Yeah, these days it's just about impossible to attract customers without publicity. Ah! Have you tried the social media app named Cookstone? You mean the social media app young people use to post pictures of food they eat? Yeah, that's how all businesses are promoting themselves lately. I simply can't understand why people would waste their time like that. Sushi makes an impression on the heart, not photographs. Even so, isn't it better to use it than to keep people ignorant of your food, Bancho? You have a point there. Making an account is simple, so let's try it out. You first register and make the hashtag Bancho Sushi, and then done. That's not as complicated as I expected. Now, customers happy with your food will follow Bancho Sushi. I'm not sure about this, but okay, I got it. I'll also install the Cooks app on my phone and check the followers' posts. Nice. Oh, so cute. So cute. Okay, let's see here. What do we have for the interior? Can I use my phone? I can use my phone in here. Oh, cook stuff. Oh, that's oh, that's so fucking funny. He's an old man. Oh, that's so cute. Alright. I can't click on this. Bancho, sushi bar grand opening. You never tasted sushi like this before. Nothing to smile about in his life. That's really funny. How do I post images? How do I like post images to the Insta though? Alright, let's see if I can upgrade anything. Oh, I can upgrade my diving suit. I think I'm gonna upgrade the air tank though. I'm gonna save money. So let's see what we have here though. Ooh. Number one table, and then we have this one. This one always modern. Okay. Okay. Oh, and there's a lot of stuff here. Well, I mean, not that much, but bonsai. I wonder if these do anything for store. That's so cute. Oh, I want that. There we go. Okay. I can't pet the cat. Can I pet the cat? Can I pet the cat? Please let me tell me. I can't pet the cat, but I can talk to the cat. Her name is Mom. Momo. I thought it said Mama. Momo. Oh my goodness, you're such a baby. I love cats so much. I have my own cat. Her name's Tyga, and she is my love of my life and my son. Not love of my life, but joy of my life. And she's my little baby girl, my little baby daughter. She's very cute. All right, let's see what we got. We can do the yeah, I didn't really catch much fish, did I? What about the cuttlefish? And then the lagoon trigger. All right, cool. Oh, okay. Can I leave, actually, to go more fishing? Yes, I can. Alright, cool. More diving, whatever. Alright, let's go. I'm assuming I can't use my phone underwater. Oh, I see clownfish now. Dolphin! Oh my god! Hi! Ah! Hello! Oh my god. Oh, dolphin? Seems to be asking me to follow. Should I try to follow? Dolphin! Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness, this is great. I love dolphin. Ah, he's going so fast! But there's no fish here though. Okay, 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 I'm coming. I'm coming on. Oh, he's waiting for me. That is so cute. Oh, hello, hello, my dolphin friend. Hold on, I have to open this. What's that? A baseball bat? Okay. Ooh, red tooth triggerfish. Where are we going? Where are we going? Is that a baby dolphin? Oh, a pink dolphin is caught in the net. Oh no! So it's asking me to rescue its fish. I should cut that net. Okay. Oh, hold on. Yeah! You're free now! You're free! Woo! Oh my goodness! So cute! I love it. Oh. Oh, they left me something. Seems I've left a gift. I didn't even know dolphins have mates. How? Okay. How? How did you not know that? Okay. What is this? A pearl! Ooh. I missed. That is so freaking cute. Oh my gosh. Ooh, okay, I'll take that. Yes, thank you. Oh, I missed. I missed. Nice. The baseball bat is really funny. I need to upgrade my storage, actually. I have very low storage. Oh my gosh. Okay, that is a big guy. Oh, I can't even fucking... I should probably get out of my way! Ay, 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 ay. I just want this fucking thing. Ay, oh my god, that guy did a lot of damage. Wow, okay. Alright, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. Is my stream? Whoa, AD? Can this guy fuck off? Thank you. Is my stream still going? Okay, that's weird. It keeps, chat keeps like disconnecting for some reason for me. I'm not really sure why. That is strange. But no, my stream is still going. So. Alright, how's my carry? Wait. Alright, oh, I can see in the bottom, duh. Am I ever gonna be able to get this guy here? Ornate rate Ras. There's an escape pod there. I have to be careful around this fucking guy. I still want to get this. Oh boy. Okay. This poor fucking fish is just like... Oh, he died. Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Oh my god! Oh my god! Escape pod! Escape pod! Escape pod! Escape pod! Escape pod! Escape pod! Woo. That was close. That could have gotten way worse. Could have got fucking killed by a shark. Okay. I got a lot of nice stuff though. It's already evening. I feel stiff. Oh, even so, Banjo's working alone. I should probably help. It's not easy to manage with 2 people with more customers coming in. Ooh. Alright. Let's see here what I can... Oh, there's another new post. Ah, they like me! They really, really like the sushi! Yay! Okay, I'm gonna get more air tank, and I'm also gonna... Oh, okay, can't do anything else. I'm gonna upgrade my cargo box as well. Alright, let's go sushi. Whoa, hello. Looks around. This is Banjo's sushi place, huh? Miss Yoshi. I came by because I heard this place is getting popular on Cooksta. The name gave me pause, but to think it's really your place. Sorry, I was just checking something again. New food using never before seen ingredients. Can't taste this anywhere else. A taciturn but masculine chef. Gotta look what that word means. Sounds familiar. Wow. Do they mention me too? No, not really. In any case, what brings you all the way here, Miss Yoshi? Oh, various reasons. I wanted to check out the restaurant. Looks like you're still the same. Well, there's nothing to change. I simply continue on day by day, training myself. My goodness, that is the problem. You refused to listen to me last time in a similar fashion, and that's why you got you booted from the hotel. I'm talking about that again. That's the customer's fault for judging the food without even trying it. How long will you continue treating customers that way? To keep making that terrible food? What do you mean terrible? Oh, your whole roasted shark head is an excellent dish. I don't know about that. Shark has been used in cuisine in both the West and the East, and in Korea it was even used in ancestral rituals. Stop! You've not changed one bit. Let me judge for myself then, whether it's food fit for consumption. Then I can tell you why I came. Fine, then I'll show you. I'll make sure you know the true taste of shark head meat. Poncho, isn't this development a bit sudden? Dave, as a chef, this is a fight I can't back out of. My pride hangs in the balance. Please get me a white tip reef shark head and all of it. That doesn't sound like a very fun idea, or fun or good idea. You want me to catch a white tip reef shark? Yes, with your skills it should be easy enough to do. But a harpoon is not likely to be enough. Take a good gun with you into battle. Even so, fighting a shark sounds way too dangerous. Do you mean to say you'll just stand by and watch while my pride is trampled? The white tip reef shark is usually found in— Yeah, I know, I had a fucking encounter with it. He suddenly wants me to get him a shark head? This is preposterous. And it can only be killed with a gun? I'll have to ask Duff to make me a gun, or search for one in the blue hole. Special customer. Ooh. Sometimes special customers with a backstory. Why the fuck do I want to... That's not cool, man. Learn dishes that the customers want through research and serve them to the customers. Okay, research. Alrighty. Okay, research. Whoa. I can't get staff yet. Alright, let's see what we got. Add ingredient. Oh, okay, swap. I have to swap this stuff out. Oh, I have this stuff still. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's get this on the menu. Wait, hold on. Wait. What does enhance do? Hold on. Oh, that's what that does. That's cool. Alright, but now we don't have any of that, so. Oh. And I can also enhance this one as well. Cool. Alright, it doesn't play the cutscene every single time. But this one. No, okay. Alright, let's go. Oh, she wants the fucking shark. I can't get the shark. I can't get the shark. I don't have the shark. So she's just gonna have to stay, I guess. Nice. That was perfect. That was perfect. Oh. Oh, Dave looks out of it. Oh, he looks completely out of it. Is that my fault? Did I do that? Because I was fighting with a fucking shark the entire time? It might have been my fault. Yosh. No one else has ordered any green tea or anything yet. I heard the cat. Oh, maybe it was a person and not the cat. The cat is not here. Okay. I like how chill this game feels. It's like, it's very nice. I think I did a little, oh, okay, no, that was perfect. I'm so good at that. I'm so good at that. I'm fucking cracked. Here you go. Alright, I think that's the last person. Yay! Oh, look how fast they went! Zoom! Nice. Nice. Alrighty. Oh, it's you again. Hello. Hey, Dave, I've got the luckiest news. What is it, Dr. Bacon? You look happy. I analyzed the artifact you brought me, and a large amount of an unknown substance was detected. I think it must be iron compressed deep underwater, but it gives off a unique wavelength. I went ahead and developed a radar, to track those waves. Oh, and why is that news lucky? Ha ha ha! Being coy today, are we? This radar is bound to come in useful in your next expedition. What do you mean my next expedition? Cobra forced me to go along last time. I was given a contract with your name on it. The cancellation charge for breaking the contract is over 20... What? What in the world were you two talking about? Don't be so by the book. Check the signal for me to test out the radar. Ugh. Give it to me. I'll tell you how it works with no more. Oh, poor Dave. He doesn't want to do any of that. He just wants to dive. Alright. Okay. Let's see what we got. It says Banjo Sushi uploaded a new post, but okay. He lied to me. Well, maybe it was the ones I already saw? Oh, it's this lady! I don't like the strange guy. What is wrong? Why you mean? Why you mean to me? It's her again. Somebody got like 200 likes. But I don't know. Like I saw a note of maybe it was supposed to be her or something. Okay. I cannot upgrade anything just yet, so let's go. And oh, fuck. I needed to get that gun, didn't I? I don't have it equipped. I thought I had a gun or something, but... Oh, no, I do have a gun. How do I use it? Oh, tab! Okay, it's tab. Alright. Alright, let's go get that shark, I guess. An annoying ass shark that was fucking pissing me off yesterday. It was over here, wasn't it? No, that's the eel. But that's the same thing. It was somewhere near here, I think, because this is where the dolphins were. Like, the dolphins were through this way, so I just gotta be... Oh, I'm being ganged up on! I'm being ganged up on by fish! Oh my god, there's so many! There's so many of them! Oh my god, fuck off, please. Die. Jesus. Give me that, thank you. Ooh. I'm assuming that the... Okay, so it's like down here because that's where the emergency thing is. I'm assuming that the gun works the same way as the... What's this? Small net gun. Yeah, I don't... Oh, no, 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 no. No, I do not want to do that. Yeah, it's down here. I thought it was. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the shark? It was here last time. Okay, I can't go. Whoa. Uh-oh. These currents, please, please, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Okay. No, I don't want to go back! Come on! This was a mistake. Oh my gosh, okay. No, 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 no! How am I supposed to get the artifact if it's like down there? Okay. Well, I don't see the shark anywhere. I thought it was around here, but I could be wrong. Okay, salt. I'll take that. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, there you are. Ugh. Are we sure I have enough shots for this? I just have one more. What the heck? I did it! Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, I feel bad. I don't like doing that. There's an ammo thing down here, I think, if I recall. I don't want to get stuck again on that fucking current. There's rope. I really do not want to get stuck on that current, so. This is really fucking dangerous. Oh, fugu! Oh, okay. The funny anchovy. Come on, I want the funny anchovy. many fucking hits does this guy take? That many. Oh, there's a lot of puffers. Oh. What is this? A foot bone. An iron ore. Ooh. Oh, God, there's even... No, Fugu. I don't want to mess. I'm not here to mess with you. I do not... Okay, so I think it's down here somewhere. But I just have to be careful because of the, Ah! Oh, man, I am losing oxygen like crazy down here. Okay, there's a... Let's see, The signal's coming from inside. There are letters I've never seen before written on the pillar. If we got a tool of some sort, we could move aside that pile of rocks and try going inside. I think it would be best to talk this over with Cobra. Come on up for now. Okay. What the fuck? Huh? Thought I'd heard something. No, I want more fishies, but I'm fucking dying. Oh wow, even the small ones down here are like really, yeah, averse to my, like really strong is what I want to say. Okay, alright, let's go. Do you see how fast that's fucking running? Oh my god! Oh, that was so close. Oh my god. Whoa, that was way too close, guys. That was way too close. I found a place with a signal from the Sea People civilization. I can't hold back my academic thirst to check it out. I'm in an important symposium right now. Please talk it over with Cobra first. I'll come by tomorrow. How to get rid of rock piles? You have to use a bomb, of course. Is it okay to detonate bombs underwater? Weren't you talking about a rock pile somewhere deep below? I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's put a little trust in the sea's regenerative power. I'm not too happy with what we're doing here. He's trying to gloss things over again. But there's an issue. The delivery ships haven't been arriving lately. I need to get a delivery from a bomb expert I know. Apparently the ship's gone off the radar. I think it's sunk. Yeah, I think I may have an inclination about what happened to it. Oh. Choked on my own spit there. Blech. Ugh. I'm okay. If I could use the drone I ordered, we could retrieve the supplies. Dave, could you go into the sea and retrieve drone materials? Drone materials? How am I supposed to find them in the ocean? It's huge! Delivery boxes are likely to have been carried by the ocean currents. Look for a place with ocean currents. That sounds dangerous. Okay. Cool. Oh, I did not catch much at all. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Hello? Who is this guy? Hoppity hop! Is this is this supposed to be Ash Ketchum? You. Do you know a lot about this giant blue hole? Well, I'm not sure what to say to that. It's different in there every time. Yes! That's it! That's the best place to collect a Marinka. I could complete my collection in this place. Marinka? What? Oh my god, it's supposed to be it's supposed to be Ash Ketchum. What? Don't tell me you don't know the highly popular ocean life trading cards, Marinka. Marinka? How can you not have heard of the futuristic trading cards that utilize an AI recognition system that automatically corresponds to fish in real life? That was a mouthful. Never heard of them. Sounds fun though. Ugh, you seem quite behind the times. Let me help you install the app. Please don't. So you do this, then press here, touch that, add a friend. Done. Okay. So what do I do now? The amazing thing about these Marinka is you don't really need to do anything special. Just catch a new fish and you'll get a card. Check the cards every now and then on the app and you're done. I see. I guess I'll be able to easily see what fish I've caught so far. That's right. It's almost like a... Whoa. You don't want to be saying the name. And it's... What was he about to say? Well, I forgot to introduce myself, didn't I? I'm Sato. I'll give you my contact info, so hit me up if you have any questions. See you then. Choo choo. Okay. Catching fish will allow you to automatically acquire marine cards. You'll get fancier cards for catching higher grade fish. Okay. Do I already have stuff on there? I do. Ooh. Wait, is it? Oh, okay. All right. There's okay, there's more. But is there not? Okay, there's like a further. I guess that shark didn't. No, here it is. Oh, you can catch a turtle. Oh, it's dolphin. No, I don't want to make dolphin sushi. No. Why would you show me that? Why would you show me that? That's so sad. Oops. Oh wait, do I get anything? No, it said, okay, I guess it just says new because of all these here. This guy was an asshole. Why would you show me that? I don't want to make I don't want to make dolphin sushi. Okay. Let's try to create a new weapon. Wait, didn't I already create this? Okay. Well, I thought. Oh, is this not the same cutscene as before? No, it's not. Okay. Sick. I don't like this guy though. Oh my god. It's a fucking it's a fucking hand of God. Oh my god. Stupid. No, my people are I have so many people in my phone right now. People are blowing up my phone. Okay. Oh, upgrade my equipment. I don't have enough money to do so though, so I can't really do that yet. Did I ever catch a clownfish? Oh, these guys are fast. What the fuck? Okay, I have not cast one yet. I'm assuming I can. Can I skewer these? Can I like? Can we sell jellyfish sushi? Is that a thing we can do? Because they're taking damage. They're taking damage every time I use the. Oh, interesting. Oh, I can! Nice. Okay. Oh, hold on. There's something here. Take that. Okay, there's a escape pod here, but I don't really need that. I don't need that either. Oh, I do not do much damage yet, do I? A shark harpoon tip. Oh, it's another one of those fucking guys. Ooh, okay. You won't get away this time! I don't need you. I'm just getting rid of that guy, because he's annoying as shit. Oh wait, that guy might be actually a little too much. There's a puffer here, I gotta be careful. Ooh, olive oil. Nice. Nice. Where am I supposed to find... Where am I supposed... Oh, check out where the currents flow. Okay. Oh, did I not kill it? I just got another one. How strong is this tiny little thing? Jesus. Oh, I can carry 19 kilograms now of stuff. That's cool. What did I... Oh, I need to check out where the currents flow. Okay. But I'm under my normal... I need to, like... I need to get more depth. Ooh, pink seashell. Take that. This. Kelp. Ooh. Ooh. What is underwater? Oh, underwater scooter. That's sick. Yes. Thank you. Oh, okay. Oh, well, I see something. I see something. What is that? What the fuck is that? Hold on. There's something here. A motor? Okay. That's one thing. I need a computer chip, though. Oh man, I am like way below my fucking thing here. Ooh. Computer chip, and then I need a camera lens, which is, I don't know, somewhere. Oh, okay, that's oxygen. Cool. I need the one last thing. Okay, if I, maybe it's somewhere. Ow, what? Oh, that's spikes. Oh, that hurts. That's smarts. Okay. Alright, I think this should be the last thing, right? Yes, okay. Alright, now I need to get out of here. And get back to normal depth. What? Yeah, okay, I don't... Alright, you don't know who you're fucking messing with, buddy. I missed. Oh, this thing, like, has really shit range. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm outie. I'm outie 5. Whoa! Oh my god. Oh my god! He does so much damage. I don't have enough fucking... I don't have... Oh gosh, is there like an escape somewhere? Please tell me there's one nearby. Oh boy, I'm running out of air. Yes, there is. Thank god. Thank god, get in there. Get in. Please, get me out of here. Get me out! Please! Oh. Alright, we should be able to deploy a drone with this. You look pretty exhausted. The sea currents did knock me around a bit, and I almost got fucking my guts ripped out by a fish, but, you know, other than that, I'm fine. I see. It'll take a bit of time to repair the drone and deploy it. You're gonna have to wait. It'll be done by tomorrow morning. Go about your business till then. I got money, though. Alright, I'm gonna be right back real quick because I have to use the restroom. And I might get, like, a little snack or something, or, like, water. Because I have a drink here, but I think it would help if I had water, so... Alright, give me a sec, chat. I'm gonna go to BRB, okay? And I'm gonna turn on some music for you guys. So give me a sec here. Be right back. Sorry, I realized that I did not have a proper BRB setup, so I'm just fucking doing that real quick. Sorry. Yeah, okay, cool. And we're back. Alright, I got water. I got my... Here, actually, I'm gonna fix the... Make it larger for you guys. And I'm gonna also turn this off because the construction seems like it's not an issue anymore. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna move chat up a little bit too. Alright, cool. Cool. So I'm out of breath because I did that really quick. I went to the bathroom. And I also got myself a snack. And okay, right, all right. Just as I say that the construction is it sounds like they're wrapping up. The noise starts again. So that's great. That's wonderful. So I'll just turn that back on. Okay. All right. Okay. I got caramel corn again. Sorry about that. Num num. I'm sorry, I'm fucking crunching. Alright. Anyways. Let's continue. Alright. Okay, cool. So alright, now we're gonna oh, I can upgrade stuff now, can't I? Alright. I could do a better depth limit. Actually I might be able to do multiple things, so ooh. I need that. I need that for sure. Ooh. That one gets me a rank 2 on the thingy here. Nice. Alright. Let's go sushi. And give Yoshi that stupid ass shark thing. Oh, I can only make one. Okay. Oh, there's multiple? Oh, hell yeah. This is so cool. I'm gonna try not to have too much caramel corn because it is a little loud. Do anything else I have that has been enhanced? This has, and then doesn't look like anything else has, so I'll just do this one. All right. Oh, I have some new ingredients, so I can sell some stuff. I don't. Okay, there is stuff that I can make with this. This one I'm just gonna sell. Well, I don't know. You don't really get much money from that, so no thanks. All right. So I think Yoshi should be hopefully coming in because I have the shark head thing. Oh, there she is. I have to serve this to her first. There you go. Ugh. Disgusting as usual. The look of it just ruins my appetite. Even so, a promise is a promise. There's a cutscene for this. I love how there's so many cutscenes. How do you like it? It's good! It's tasty! I can taste the white tip reef shark fat inside the crispy whole roast. But it's not an overly cloying flavor. Is this ginger? The ginger scent mixes with the strong flavor of the head. It's quite lovely! Pardon me, I wasn't expecting it to be this good. The Book of Five Rings states that one should look at the essence of something instead of its appearance. Sharks look terrible on the outside, but they have robust meat and their head has a delicious taste. I don't think we should be eating sharks, personally, but that's just me. This whole roasted shark head brings such traits to their maximum potential. I must admit it, this is good. You pass, Bancho. Let me tell you why I'm here then. This restaurant needs to hire people. I can help you with that. Huh? What do you mean? Do you still mean to go it alone, Bancho? This place is already operating at full capacity. Things might be okay for now, but you won't be able to cope when even more customers come. I can't continue working alone, but it's not easy to find people I can trust. I'm Yoshi the recruiter. That's what I do these days. Let's start by putting out a hiring ad. Yay! Employees! Hire employees to reduce the workload. Employees help serve food in the dining area or make cooking food faster. Ahem. Let me tell you how to recruit staff. Pay close attention to what I say. Okay. Oh god, this guy had been waiting for his tea. Okay. Okay. Good. The recruitment results become available the following day. I'll tell you more tomorrow. Alright. I'm sorry, that was too much. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so fucking sorry. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm sorry. Here you go. Here you go. God, they're doing some shit out there right now. That is not good either. That's good. Okay, that's fine. Ah, bronze! Nice, I'm an influencer now. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, you want the shark head? But we don't have any more of those. Oh, wait, no, we do. We do. Oh, shh. Everyone wants the fucking shark head. Everyone wants— oh, wait, can I hire anyone? No, I can't right now. It's just me. There's too many people. There's too many fucking people. And I'm just one man. I'm just one slow man. There you go. Yosh, stop. You're making so much food, man. Just hurry up. Oh my god, no! Oh, no, I didn't. No, I'm not. I'm too slow. I'm too slow. I didn't get a 5-star this time. I got a 4-star. Good morning. Sorry I couldn't come by yesterday because of the symposium. Did you speak with Cobra? No, come to think of it, I got material since Cobra said he was repairing a drone yesterday. Oh, a bit late, aren't I? I repaired the drone just fine, thanks to you. I got some supplies as well. Here's the bombs, you ask. Rope? Bombs? You want it? Also. Oh, thank you. Dr. Bacon, will these do? Alright, let's head back to that rock pile. Oh, wait. I haven't finished. Starting today, the Cobra shop is officially open. Huh? What is that? Haha, deliveries have stopped. But with the drone in working order, I can transport 3 types of items in a day. Talk to me and select the Cobra shop to see a list that changes every day. I'll also buy some stuff you don't need. Check out the sell tab as well. I have a feeling you'll charge high prices, but it's nice to be able to prepare. I won't charge high prices just because I've got the only business here. So don't be afraid to visit often. I feel like you let your business tactics slip just now. In any case, it's time to head back to the rock pile where the signal from the sea people was detected. They're replacing the gutters right now, so like it's loud. Oh, hello. Hey, you haven't quit diving yet, have you? What is it this time? I'm doing some investigating for an important paper. I'm going to need some help. Give me 3 blue shells and 3 brown shells. Okay, but aren't you supposed to be doing this? Aren't you supposed to do this sort of thing yourself? Are you kidding me? Writing a paper requires a ton of research and investigation. What you're doing is only a very tiny part of it all. So don't let it get to your head. Hurry along. I don't have much time until the deadline. You really are impossible. But since you say it's for paper, was it blue shells and brown shells? Ah, just in case there's something worth documenting inside. How about taking this underwater camera with you? A camera? That's right. It'll be important for research to record important data with photos. Take the camera and I'll let you know what I find when I find the right place to use it. Bye-bye. Okay, let's see what you have for your shop. Okay, it's not expensive at all. Oxygen tank expansion, one-time use. Cool. Oh, okay, I have 2 of these, so I don't... can be used for weapon enhancement. Probably worth... Okay, so this is... Okay, that's what that's for. Sold. Alright, cool. What's this? Oh, it's storage. Ooh. Where do I get charms, I wonder? Do I have any other melee weapons? No. Okay, I can't make any other weapons right now, so... How's Cooks doing? Cool. Oh, hold on. Oh, Yoshi left a review. Hold on a minute, I just saw that. I just saw it. We are Bancho's. Why the fuck are you taking a photo of this random woman? He can't. Oh, he focused on the wrong thing. Oh, Ban Poncho. Oh. Oh, he's smiling. I know he's not smiling. I thought he was. It's just his beard. Don't eat that. That's really cute. And I have some new music as well. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Alright, let's go. Actually, wait, hold on. Sorry. Let's see what we can upgrade. I could do the diving suit again, but I think right now, I think I'm gonna upgrade the cargo. And then next time I'm gonna go for the air tank, so. Let's go. Dolphin friend again! Hello! Hmm? Is your friend trapped again? Hmm? You must be Dolphin from before. Why does it look like it's in a hurry? I wonder if something's going on. Come to think of it, I don't see the pink dolphin this time. I just follow. How do I take a photo of something? I don't know. Hold on, wait, is something open? Oh, okay, sorry. No! Who keeps doing this? Who keeps doing this? No! No, the pink dolphin! Pirates must have captured it illegally. I should quickly cut its net. I got you, my friend. Oh, I have a really... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, it's slowly going up. Ow, and they're hitting me. What the hell? Ow. They're freaking blasting at me. Oh, my God. Ow. No, 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 no. No. No, 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 you can't do that. No, 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 no. Yes! Oh my gosh, my oxygen. Oh! Oh! Why is one pink and one blue, though? That's not... What's up? Oh. Oh. Oh, they left another gift. Oh, neither of them got caught again. Ooh. Oh god, I have like no fucking oxygen. After that, there's gotta be some. Oh, hold on, wait. Okay, well, shit. Oh, oh no, there's a thing there. There's the thing. There's... Okay. Oh man, that was... I just keep coming in clutch with everything. Sometimes it's space and sometimes it's A and D, and I wonder why. Because I would not know. Ooh, yes, another one of these. Nice. Oh, the fucking shark is back there. I'm not messing with you, bro. Yeah. Give me that. I am gaming so hard right now. I'm such a gamer. Okay. Alright. I'm already almost up on my my carrying limit though. It stinks. Okay. Oh. Barracuda. These guys are like, I feel easier to get because they're they like run at you. Hello. You seem okay. I thought you were like friendly or something for a sec there. Oh, I am way under. I am. Oh my gosh, that guy is heavy. I am way over my carrying capacity right now. Oh man. I want to explore more. Okay, maybe I only need like one of these guys because they take up a lot of space, dude. You think I should try this? I should go for it? No, last time I went for it, I fucking died. I almost died. I didn't die, but I was very close to it. So. What's my maximum depth? I wonder. Ooh, I did not mean to shoot that guy. Okay, yeah, fucking shoot. Sure, I have the gun out, so why not? A dusky grouper. How far can I go? How far down can I go? Because this is definitely very far down already. Okay, I can't go just yet. Oh, I gotta go back to the rock pile. I should have enough oxygen to get there. Oh boy. No, come on. I'm just doing this to get this guy out of the way. Discard. Eh. You are very annoying. I do not appreciate the currents. Okay. Oh, wait. No? Oh, I think it's like above. Too far. Too. Okay, I gotta get out of here. Gotta get out of here. Get me out of here, please. I went the wrong way. I evidently went the wrong. Ah! That's not very nice. Gotta be careful of that guy. Ooh, hold on. Okay, I do not have much more space. There we go. We're here! Try placing one of the bombs Cobra gave you on that rock pile. Okay. How do I do that? Oh, good. You know, it's sort of hard to see through the radio. We can't have you torn into 1,000 pieces and become food for the sharks. That's a scary thing to say in such a casual voice. Now back away from the bomb for a bit. There, that should be enough. Here it goes! Can I back away a little bit more? Okay, no, we're fine. Nice, now the road is clear. There's a faint light coming from inside. Go on inside. Ugh. What if there's a monster or something inside? That would also be an amazing scientific discovery! Okay, whatever you say. New region? Ooh. The sea people. The seaple. Wow! This place is... Wow! It appears to be some kind of sea people record chamber. My lucky feeling was correct. There definitely was a sea people civilization in this region. Look at that mural back there. No human could have painted that so deep underwater. Maybe these are from some ancient civilization that sank from seismic activity? A good point. But that style of painting and architecture can't be seen anywhere above ground. Please first investigate this place. I'm sure you'll be able to find a variety of interesting clues. Does my oxygen go down here too? Okay, it doesn't look like it does. Even if I'm... Okay, cool. Look at this buff boy. This mural seems to be of a warrior king. It looks powerful. There seem to be scales on the lower body. Is this really the mural of the... Oh, is this really a mural of the sea people? I'm pretty sure it is, man. Painting of dolphins and marine plants. Apparently the sea people could draw, not only write. Good, that should be enough. I would like to research a little more, so please take a photo of the camera that I gave you. How do I do that? Okay. How do I take a photo? Oh, there's a icon here. A camera icon indicates that you can take pictures. Check your objective from the top left. Okay. Whoa. Oops. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Huh? I see something on the floor there. Oh, it might be another sea people artifact. Bring it to me. I got you. I don't think they're very happy about that. It's the sound from before. A record chamber filled with sea people symbols. What could they have written? More importantly, didn't you hear something? What do you mean? I didn't hear anything over the radio. Come on up for the boat for now. And they're just gonna fucking kill me. They're just gonna come out and kill me. They're gonna lock off the entrance and I'll die. It's gonna be horrible and there's gonna be blood everywhere. Nah, I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll do that. I think they're nice. I hope so. Alright, let's go back. Because I do not have any space left. A sea people artifact. Very interesting. Well, I'm glad you like it. I'll have to analyze this artifact in the mirror further in my lab. I'll be in touch soon. Bye-bye. Oh, hello. Uh-oh. Hey, you there! I heard an explosion in the sea. Do you know what's going on? Oh, about that, we are Sea Blue. We are an organization that tracks down people who pollute this beautiful sea and reports them. I sometimes carry out justice myself for those that commit particularly evil deeds. I have had reports of someone who has been engaging in mindless destruction of the environment in this parts. I don't know if it was you, but you better be aware of this. Whoever harms the Great Sea will have to contend with Sea Blue. And me, John Watson! Now then, be ever grateful to the sea and never lose your love for it. I'll be leaving for now. We're watching you. Bye! What a creepy dude. Will we be okay? That group is infamous. They commit acts of violence under the pretext of environmental protection. It's mostly the large corporations with big fishing businesses. And not the small fisheries that harm the environment the most. They say nothing to the corporations, however. I expect they're taking bribes or something unsavory like that. That guy looked like bad news. Won't do you any good to be on their radar. Be careful. Already? That was harder than expected. Not really. Pretty easy, actually. These are hard to find. Well, this isn't bad. Now then, if I just complete the delivery to Eco Watcher. Ta-da! Haha! Research level gained. Huh? Eco Watcher. Oh, you don't know? Eco Watcher is a mission-based app made to protect the environment. You get points for completing missions on the app and get rewards for reaching certain levels. So this was for points on the app, not for a paper? Oh, well, you could say they're basically the same thing. You try it out too if you're interested. See ya! Thanks. Thanks, Ellie. Thank you so much for making me do your job. I appreciate it so much. Alright, I got a lot of stuff today. Alright, okay, so we have this now. Ooh. Overpopulated. I know about this! Lionfish are actually very invasive in a lot of places, so I've seen videos of people just like going in there and harpooning them. Oh, this one is... Oh. Is this one done? Okay. Well, part of it is done, but... Okay. Do I get a reward or something? Because it says I progressed to here. I do still wonder how you get more phone charms. Alright, can't do anything right there. Alright, I don't have any quests to do right now, so what do you got for me? Alright. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours, so I think I'm gonna wrap up here for today. I had a lot of fun with this game so far, and I definitely want to continue it soon. So, tomorrow we're gonna be watching the Nintendo Direct at 10 a.m. I'm very excited for that. I you know, as usual with Nintendo, they announce a Direct like a day before it happens, so you have to adjust accordingly to your schedule. So that'll be like what, my 5th stream in a row this week? That's crazy. I'm very proud of myself. But yeah, I am getting a little tired, and I have some other stuff that needs to be done with my shop and such. I'm working on like new sticker designs and stuff. I'm still thinking in my head what I want to make, but I'm sure it'll pop out soon. Anyways, thank you everybody so much for dropping by, and also thank you to Mariposa Yarnio Pillow for the follow, Wretched Gretch for the follow, Lilac Nava for the follow, hi Nava, and Chow Chow Wan for the follow. I appreciate every single person who comes to stop by, comes to lurk. And yeah. Alright, let me save and close out the game here. It's very fun. This is a very fun game. I definitely wanna... I'm on chapter 1, day 4 only, so I'm assuming there's still a lot to be done. But anyways, let me just close out the game here. Alrighty, okay. Thank you everybody for dropping by, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for tomorrow's Nintendo Direct. It is gonna be, I hope it's gonna be okay. I don't expect too much because like, I already got what I wanted, which is Tomodachi Life. But I'm just thinking what I want for the next Direct. I'm very excited though. I'm looking forward to whatever they're cooking up for the Switch 2. Maybe some Splatoon Raiders news. I know that's releasing this year, I hope. And I also want to try streaming that when it comes out. But like I said, I still need to save up for a capture card. But yeah. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Bye!